Hello everyone, welcome to Byju's Exam Prep IAS. First things first, if audio and video both are working fine, please let me know. All good, wonderful. So let's begin with our session. So today we are going to discuss the leftover of the chapter of IT and communication, something that we had started our discussion in yesterday's class, and this is where we are going to continue from. So there are three important topics. Also remember that out of these three topics, there are two topics from where hardly any questions have been asked, but they are areas which are very crucial for your examination, especially given the fact that there are a lot of new developments that we keep saying, and even if no new development, but they are certainly in the news all the time. So that's why they become important from that perspective. So first topic that we are going to discuss today is about blockchain technology, and then after that about supercomputers, and then after that quantum technologies and quantum computers. So these are three important chapters, or rather three important topics that we are going to discuss in this session. Now, first is about blockchain technology. Now, what do we mean by blockchain technology? If you break down the word blockchain, what you see is that there are two things. You have block and you have chain. So, what does it mean to have a block and a chain? So, how we define it is that it's a decentralized distributed ledger that records the provenance of a digital asset. So, provenance of a digital asset. Now, what do we mean by, first of all, what is digital asset? What is the meaning of digital asset? And what do we mean by when we say it's a decentralized distributed ledger? So, blockchain, the name of the technology is blockchain because this technology works like you have a bunch of blocks which are connected via chains. All right. Bunch of blocks which are connected via chains will be called as blockchain technology. Now, in this particular scenario, when it comes to the blockchain technology, this is where we are saying that it is something that will be important for digital assets. So now, when I say digital asset, the meaning of digital asset is that this is something that has digital presence. So digital asset could mean anything. It could be a cryptocurrency. I'll discuss about cryptocurrencies later. It could be nothing but just a simple video. It could be just a simple audio. It could be just, let's say, a PDF file, maybe notes that you want to share with somebody. So it could be anything. All right, it could be anything. So anything that has digital presence can be called as a digital asset. And when you want to secure that digital asset, when you want that you should have full control over the security of the digital asset, this is where we see that blockchain technology becomes very crucial. So now in this context, when we say blockchain, we are saying that this is like bunch of blocks which are connected via chains. So these are like blocks, these are like blocks, and these are like chains. So that's why this is a blockchain technology. Now, overall, when it comes to blockchain technology, it is also called as distributed ledger technology. Now, overall, when it comes to this blockchain technology, just understand first how exactly do we make them work, and then what are the characteristics of the blockchain technology which makes it so special. Today, when we talk about blockchain technology, it is often in terms of bitcoins. When we understand bitcoins and the basic cryptocurrency that has become the most popular of all the cryptocurrencies, so this is typically how blockchain works. So where we have blocks which are connected via chains. Now, what are these blocks and what are these chains is what we'll try to understand here. So suppose that I have to make a payment, and this payment I'm making through Bitcoin. Suppose that I'm making a Bitcoin payment. Let's say I have to pay something to a friend or maybe my brother. So I'll make a payment to my brother via Bitcoins. Now, how do I do that? First, I will request for a transaction. I'll request for a transaction, and this is where I'm initiating the transaction. Now, as I initiate the transaction, this is where a block is created. All right, this is where a block is created, a block which represents the transaction is getting created here. So, this block represents that money. The money that I'm sending is, just imagine that this is inside a box. It's a secured box. It's a locker kind of a block. So inside that I have my money. Now this block basically gets broadcasted to all the nodes of the network. It gets broadcasted to all the nodes of the network. Now, what do we mean by broadcasting to the nodes of the network? Now, in this context, when we say nodes of the network, it means that there are these nodes. So let's try to also understand what do we mean by nodes. So what happens is that a copy of this block is going to a lot of anonymous users who are there in this network. So as soon as I have initiated a transaction, a copy of this transaction has got to everyone. Suppose that in this class, right, in this class, suppose that all of you who are sitting in the classroom, you are like the nodes. So as soon as I initiated the transaction, you all got a copy of this transaction. Now you have to validate the block. You have to validate this transaction. All right. You will be the one to validate the transaction. Now, as you validate the transaction, this block will be added to the blockchain. So it just goes and gets appended to already existing network. So this is a new block which gets added to this chain. So this block is now added to the chain after validation has been done by all these users, and hence the transaction is executed. Now comes the question, what is the role of all these users? I mean, all of you, for example, what is the role of all of you here? Why are you the ones to validate? Is it not becoming insecure when you are the ones validating, when you know about the transaction? So is it not becoming insecure in that sense? So there are all these questions that might pop up in your mind right now. So let's try to understand all the things one by one. So first things first, when it comes to these blocks, the blocks have the information, the blocks have the digital asset, and these blocks are encrypted. So for an outsider it's very difficult to hack through this system. Secondly, all these nodes are anonymous. It's just like how right now you are to me, because I can't see you, right? I can't see you. I'm just looking at the camera, right? So I'm looking at the camera, and on the other side of the camera, you all exist, maybe in your secure space, maybe at your home, wherever you are. So I do not know you. I have no idea who you are. I don't have your phone numbers, email IDs, etc. So in that case, you are anonymous for me. Correct? You are anonymous for me. Now, in this blockchain scenario, even I am anonymous for you. Right now, you can see me. You probably know my name and my email ID because I've given you my email ID multiple number of times. But in a blockchain technology, even I would be unknown. You would not know who I am. You do not know my name. You do not have my contact details like email ID, phone number, etc. You do not even know where am I sitting. You do not know where am I uh, streaming this class from. So there are all these things that you would also not know if it was a perfect blockchain scenario. So now what happens is that the user is also anonymous. So first of all, you do not know me. So you are only doing your work. Why would you do that work? Because you will be paid for doing that work. So every time you do a correct validation, you will be paid something for it. A fraction of, let's say, a cryptocurrency like Bitcoin, perhaps, is what you'll be paid. So you will be paid for it. So you are happy. You will do your work properly. You don't know who I am, so you neither have any positive or any negative sentiments against or towards me. Correct? So you do not know anything, so you would just do your work. I am also just doing my work. Everybody is only doing whatever suits them and whatever is important for them, and that's it. And that is how blockchain works and adds security levels here, because these nodes are anonymous, completely anonymous, that nobody knows who the nodes are, nobody knows where they are from. Their IP addresses are hidden, their locations are hidden, their contact details are hidden. So nobody knows who these nodes are, nobody knows who the users are. Everybody just has a username. Everybody just has the username, and this entire transaction would happen with those usernames itself. So there are a lot of things that blockchain provides, and that's why this blockchain becomes a very, very important system. Now, let's try to understand the properties of this blockchain technology. First, we are saying that it's a distributed system. As I discussed, that the block that we have in this blockchain, there will be a copy of blockchain with everyone. Copy of blockchain will be there with everyone. So all network participants have a copy of the ledger for complete transparency. So that is very, very important. You can say property of blockchain, that it is a very transparent system because everybody has a copy, everybody knows what's happening, and that's why it is not hidden from anyone that what exactly is the transaction happening. Then we say that it is immutable. Now, immutability is a very, very important concept in terms of blockchain, because immutability means that all the validated records are irreversible and cannot be changed, meaning that once you have added a block, it cannot be removed. So what it means is blocks once added can't be removed. Blocks once added can't be removed. So that's why we say that this basically is what means to be immutable. So basically what happens is that as you add a block to this blockchain, you cannot remove that block. It's just like how email exchanges happen, that let's say I write an email to you, then you write an email to me, and then I write something, but I cannot go and delete my first email. Correct? It will always be there in this email chain. I can delete it from my inbox, but that means nothing. It will be like ostrich trying to hide inside the sand. So it will not mean anything, right? So I'll have to go and delete that email from everybody's inbox. Everybody who was there in the email chain, I'll have to go and delete it. Otherwise, I can't do anything. Correct? So it's just like that. It's just like how you write an email, and once the email has been sent, the email cannot be deleted after that. Similarly, once you add the block to the blockchain, the block always remains there as a part of that part of that chain. So that is what we mean by immutability. Then after that, one very, very important concept is that all these transactions or any kind of exchanges happening via blockchain, they are all time stamped, meaning when exactly it happened will be written on the block itself. The block will represent that. So for example, let's say the transaction is happening on 19th of May, 5 p.m. First happens at 5 p.m., second happens at 5:30, third happens at 6 p.m., fourth happens, let's say, at 7:30. So these are the time period times when the blocks have been added to the blockchain. So now what happens is that once this has been done, once the blocks have been added to this blockchain, they cannot be removed from here. Let's say somebody comes and tries to modify this second block, the 5:30 block. Somebody tries to modify it or change it or delete it. As soon as somebody does that, suppose that somebody came at 10 p.m. at night and tried to do something. What happens is that this time from 5:30 will change to 10. Now, what do you see? 5, 10, 6, 7:30. So that is a very clear indication that somebody tried to do something with that block at 10 p.m. And it will very quickly visible. And anyone who tries to do anything with the block, a copy of everything that is happening in this ledger is there with every node in this network. So they would quickly come to know that something is going wrong, and they would shut down the system immediately and not let that change happen at all. So that becomes one of the ways in which blockchain works, and that's why time stamping is very, very crucial. That every transaction that happens is recorded on the block itself. Then it's a unanimous system. Unanimous means that all the nodes have to validate the transactions. If let's say there is only even a single node, let's say there is just one node who has invalidated the transaction. Even if one node has invalidated the transaction cannot go further. It's just like how in the UN General Security Council, there are some of the members who have veto power, that if any one of them they do not give their consent on something, it will not go ahead. So something similar to that, you can say every member, every node has a veto power. So that's why if they see something wrong, they can invalidate the transaction. So that's why unless some everybody has validated the transaction cannot be executed. All right. So all network participants agree to the validity of each of the records. Then it is an anonymous system. So as I told you that all the participants, all the nodes, they are completely anonymous. Even the users among whom the exchanges are happening, even they are completely anonymous. So nobody knows anyone. That is basically, you can say, the summary of the story. So identity of the participants is either anonymous or pseudonymous, meaning that they are using a username. All right, they're using some kind of username which they would have picked. So for example, usernames like Angel, Priya, and all that. So you can use any username you want, and that's why those anonymous, you all remain anonymous, or pseudonames are being used, and original identity is completely unknown. Then obviously these are very secured because each and every record, each and every block is properly encrypted. Everything is properly encrypted, and that is why we see that it's not easy to uh, hack through this block. And then lastly, it is programmable. Now being programmable also becomes very, very crucial. Programmable means that it's not necessary that you use every property of blockchain, everything that we have been talking about. It's not necessary that you have to have each and everything, and that you are going to use all the properties. So for example, if you don't want to be anonymous, don't be anonymous. There will be, so for example, let's say if a company for its internal work wants to implement blockchain, then obviously it cannot keep all its employees anonymous. They would want to know the identity of all the employees. So that's why they would not keep it anonymous. So that's why properties can be used as you want. You can pick and choose what property you want and what property you don't. So that's why we are saying that it is programmable, that we can, this is basically about, we can choose some or all of the properties of blockchain. Yeah, let me just say properties while implementing blockchain technology. All right, so we can choose, we can pick that, okay, we only want these things because this is what suits our requirement. So it's not necessary that each and every property of the blockchain technology has to be used every time you're using blockchain. So that's why these properties are there. It makes it very secure, very you can say uh, uh, safe system altogether. It is very transparent system. There is accountability for everybody's work, and it's a distributed work. It's like a perfect democracy. You can say that everybody has a single vote, and everybody has an equal say, and everybody is anonymous. So that's why it's not a problem about who would work in whose favor or who would work against somebody. That all nobody knows. So that's why we see that there are all these things related to the distributed ledger technology. Now, some of the issues yet remain with blockchain, that, for example, there could be a transaction cost for whenever blockchain technology is being used. It uses excessive energy. Now, it's using excessive energy because every node who exists, they have to keep validating. And this validation is not a simple yes or no. It's not that a window will pop in front of you, that do you want to validate, yes or no. You click on yes and validation is done and you get paid. Getting paid cannot be that easy, because for each and every correct validation that a node does, they have to solve a complex mathematical problem. So that's why it's not that easy to become a node, because they'll have to solve a complex mathematical problem, and then only they become a node. Then only they can validate a transaction. So now, when I say complex mathematical problem, solving this complex mathematical problem is not going to be easy, because it needs very intensive calculations, and normal uh, laptops or mobile phones, etc., they cannot do these kind of calculations. So you need very strong, very fast, high end systems to work on, and they obviously consume a lot of energy, and you have to keep your system running probably 24 hours a day. So that's why there is excessive use of energy in terms of the nodes who are working. Then the complexity of the system, because what we are discussing is just a surface level discussion of what goes behind the scenes, but overall it becomes otherwise a complex system. And then storage can be a problem, because blockchain technology, what we are discussing is that the blocks, once they have been added, they cannot be removed, right? They cannot be removed. So then in that case, what happens is that the blockchain will keep becoming longer. So the storage space that it is taking, it will also keep on increasing, and that's why it can become a challenge over time to maintain a blockchain technology. Now, we know that blockchain is being used in a couple of cases where they have been popularized. One such example is cryptocurrency. Now, what we mean by cryptocurrencies is that cryptocurrency is where we are talking about a kind of currency which is encrypted. All right, an encrypted digital currency is called as cryptocurrency. Now, one of the best methods to use cryptocurrency is to use blockchain technology. All right, so with the help of blockchain, the first blockchain based cryptocurrency was Bitcoin. And Bitcoin became very popular, and that's why blockchain technology, because it was implementing Bitcoins, blockchain technology became very, very popular. So that's why we see that still Bitcoins remain one of the most popular, or rather the most popular uh, cryptocurrency out there. And there are other cryptocurrencies also today which are making the use of blockchain technology. Then after that, there is something called as NFT, which stands for non-fungible non-fungible token, NFT. So now this non-fungible token also has become popular in the last 2 3 years, and that too because this also uses blockchain. But this uses blockchain in a very different way. It can basically become a way in which you store any digital asset, right? One of the ways to store digital asset and keep the records. So for example, we have seen that artwork in the digital space is actually being sold and bought with the help of NFTs. Now, what do we mean by NFT? Think of NFT just like a ticket, a, a railway ticket or a flight ticket or a movie ticket. So in that ticket, what do you see? All the tickets look similar, correct? All the tickets will look similar, but there are differences in the tickets. For example, your name might be written or your seat number might be written. So those things are different. Otherwise, look wise, they are all the same. So the same sheet of paper, there are some differences that are representing these non-fungible tokens. So now these non-fungible tokens, that's why they in the last couple of years we have seen that they became popular. So for example, some of the artwork, some paintings, etc., they we started creating, or some of the creators, they started creating NFTs out of it. That for example, I have an artwork, just think of it like this. Suppose that I have an artwork, and what I've done is that I have created only 10 copies of this artwork. Just imagine me to be one of the greatest artists that is there in the world right now. So I have created a limited edition. Only 10 pieces of this artwork are going to be available. So now what I do is that I create NFT out of it. That all these artworks, there is one ticket each representing these 10 artworks that I have made, or these 10 paintings that I've made. And then I'm selling it in online, in the online market, where people would be flocking to buy these 10 NFTs because they would hold a huge value. Because this, I am a very good artist, I am a very well known popular artist, and my artwork means a lot to a lot of people. And that's why if there is a limited edition artwork that I'm making, obviously it will have a lot of value in the market. So what we'll see then is that maybe there are 10 people who are spending a lot of money to get these NFTs. So now they are the, you can say, legitimate owners of this artwork, this particular artwork that I've made. And maybe later they can sell it off, they can sell that NFT to somebody else, because its price, because of the rarity, because of it being a limited edition painting, maybe there are a lot of people who are willing to buy it. So this person who now owns the NFT, uh, perhaps will give it to somebody else who, at a higher price. So that will become a way in which they can earn a lot of money also. So this is what started that. Even for example, uh, the founder of Twitter back then, he made an NFT out of the very first tweet that he had ever done. So that was the very first tweet on Twitter back then. So then he created an NFT out of it, and that NFT also was sold in the market, in the online market. So that's why we see that NFTs, they started making businesses, artwork, collectibles, music, gaming, in all these cases. But on the other hand, we see that the same NFTs can be very, very crucial. For example, they can be used in storing educational records. So your educational records can be stored as NFTs, and you can look into the records whenever you basically are using that NFT. So not only that, for health records, for property ownership, for supply chain tracking, in all these cases also NFTs can be very, very useful, where these tickets, they are representing the original record or original work. Read this question. This was asked in your paper. I'll launch the poll for you. So 58% of you have marked B, which actually is the correct answer. With reference to Bitcoin, sometimes seen in the news, which of the following statements is or are correct? First is, Bitcoins are tracked by central banks of the countries. No, they are not. These are anonymous systems, right? These are completely anonymous and nobody can track. As I told you, that nobody knows the whereabouts, the IDs, the contact numbers, the names. Nothing is known about anyone who is there in this network. So that's why these are not tracked. They can't be tracked by the central banks of the countries. The Reserve Bank of India, for example, RBI, cannot track any transaction which is taking place via Bitcoins. That is also the reason why India and many of the countries around the world, they have banned the use of Bitcoins or banned the use of cryptocurrencies using blockchain in general, because they cannot track any of the transactions which are happening through Bitcoin. So that's why one definitely is wrong. So one definitely is wrong. Three is there in both B and C, so we need not worry about three. So let's look at state number two. Anyone with a Bitcoin address can send and receive Bitcoins from anyone else with a Bitcoin address. This is correct. That those pseudonyms that we have, or the usernames that we have, those become the modes of exchanges. So that's why it can be done. So statement number 2 and 3 both are actually correct. The third statement says online payments can be sent without either side knowing the identity of the other. So this is precisely what we spoke of, that nobody knows who they are. Usernames are known, and those username transactions keep on happening. So any questions if you have anything from whatever we have discussed until now? Notes and NFT. So notes, first thing is that notes, just understand this, that it's just like bank employees, just that these bank employees are anonymous. You do not know the the bank employees do not know you, and they are verifying your transaction. All right, they are verifying or validating your transaction. So these are the notes. NFT. So NFT, just understand that NFT is called as non-fungible token. It is, as I told you, that it's like a ticket. That everybody's ticket might look the same, but there are small differences in everybody's ticket. That the seat numbers are different, the names are different, etc. So something similar happens in case of NFT. That we are creating a token out of anything. We are creating a token out of, let's say, any digital asset. All right, we are creating a token out of any digital asset. So that is exactly what we see with NFT. How a block is created? See, block basically gets created every time a new transaction is happening, or let's say, even if, for example, uh, you can create a blockchain technology just for exchanging notes. For example, let's say ki there are five people here, and you are a group of five students who are preparing for this examination. So then you can create your own blockchain, so that you can transfer notes or exchange notes via blockchain. All the PDF notes can be exchanged via blockchain. So all these things can be done via blockchain, and that is precisely when you send any information, when you are sending any, let's say, file. So when you are sending the file, a block gets created at that moment, and the block will carry the file. Is DigiLocker an example of educational NFT? Not precisely. I wouldn't say that it belongs to the NFT bracket, because it's more like a locker where you are. It's another encryption method that they're using, but it's not NFT. How to buy Bitcoin? You can buy Bitcoin. There are multiple platforms that can give you that option, but again, in India, transactions cannot be done, only trading can be done in Bitcoin. What if a node makes some mistakes in the validation process? Absolutely possible that a node makes a mistake, but the thing is that the complication is such that they would either validate or they wouldn't be able to uh, complete that calculation altogether, because invalidation would mean that they have to solve the entire problem and then invalidate. So that cannot happen. Either after solving the entire problem they will validate, or they would not reach that moment. So that's why, yes, it's possible that they commit mistakes, but those mistakes will not really have a bearing on the validation process. Is super coins in Flipkart Bitcoin? No, 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 no. Those are just, you can say, like points, that they are giving you points for every purchase that you're doing. So that cannot be counted as Bitcoin. Bitcoin, just think of Bitcoin as a separate currency. Just like rupee is a currency, dollar is a currency, euro is a currency. Similarly, Bitcoin is also a currency. Just that it is not fiat money. It is not the money that we are exchanging normally. It's a different kind of money. Hmm. So the next topic for us is supercomputers. Now, supercomputers compared to the normal computers that we use in our day-to-day lives is a very different kind of computer. Now, what do we see with supercomputers is that more than a computer like your laptop, etc., as you can see here, that this supercomputer is like a room. It's like a room, correct? Room full of all these machines, as you can see here. But when it comes to the performance of supercomputers, supercomputers are extremely fast. Our normal computers that we have been using, they are nowhere comparable to what a supercomputer can do and how fast something can be done by a supercomputer. Now, in this regard, a supercomputer is also called as a special purpose or specific purpose computer. So because what we see is that when it comes to this computer, this is something that performs at or near the current highest operational speeds which are possible. Now, in this particular scenario, when it comes to these supercomputers, their computation speeds will be very, very fast. Correct? Their computation speeds are very, very fast, and they are measured in terms of petaflops. They're measured in terms of petaflops. Now, petaflops. Understand what we mean by petaflops. What is peta? First things first. What do we mean by peta? Or can you tell me how much is one peta? How much is peta? We use it as a suffix. So can you tell me what is peta, or how much rather is peta? Ravi, almost correct. Hmm. So, see, when we are talking about in terms of 10 to the powers, then you might know kilo. How much is kilo? 10 to the power of 3. After kilo comes mega, which is 10 to the power of 6. Then comes giga, which is 10 to the power of 9. Then comes tera, which is 10 to the power of 12. And then lastly, then after that you have peta, which is 10 to the power of 15. After this also there is exa, which is 10 to the power of 18. Not required, but just you can know. So petaflops. So peta here means 10 to the power of 15. And what is flops? Flops is floating point operations per second. Floating point operations per second. Now, what do we mean by floating point operations? So floating point operations simply means the normal calculations that we do, addition, subtraction, division, etc. They can be called as floating point operations. So when we say one petaflop means that a system which has a capacity or a speed of one petaflop, it means that it can do 10 to the power of 15 calculations in 1 second. So that is one petaflop. And right now, Frontier supercomputer is the world's fastest supercomputer, which has a measured power efficiency of 1102 petaflop, meaning that it can do 1102 into 10 to the power of 15 calculations per second. That is what we mean by 1102 petaflops. All right, so that basically means 1102 into 10 to the power of 15 calculations in 1 second. So just imagine the kind of speed that we are discussing here. So this is the world's fastest supercomputer. So floating point operations basically mean the normal arithmetic. Hmm. Now, in India, what we have seen is that we started our first supercomputing program back in 1987. All right. In 1987, we started with supercomputing program in India. And here, Param 8000, this was the first supercomputer of India, which was built by Center for Development of Advanced Computing, or CDAC. And after that, we have seen that CDAC has worked with the government of India on this Ministry of Electronics and IT, and it has ensured that it is basically doing all the work required in building supercomputers in India. And that also brought us to National Supercomputing Mission that was taken a few years back. Now, this National Supercomputer Mission is more about creating supercomputers which are not only helpful in some of the applications, but we are looking at everything that can be done with the help of supercomputers, either nationally or even internationally. So that's why the biggest or the most complex of the problems uh, we want to solve with the help of these supercomputers. So that's why we understand that there are a lot of things that supercomputers can do very fast, which otherwise with a normal computing speeds is impossible. So that's why wherever we need very fast, wherever we need very fast processing speed, wherever we need very fast processing speed, we can make the use of supercomputers. So that's why predicting climate change, studying space and universe, material engineering, pharmaceutical research, data mining, seismic analysis, atomic energy simulations, disaster management, even genetic studies, then even in agriculture. Even in agriculture in India, we have a certain supercomputers that are working in enhancing our capacity with agriculture. So that's why there are many things that can be done by a supercomputer. Wherever we need processing speed to be extremely fast, we can use supercomputers. But remember that these are specific purpose computers or special purpose computers, meaning that they can do only one kind of job. Normally the computers that we use, the laptops, mobile phones, etc., they can do multiple things, right? We do multiple things in them. But in case of supercomputers, they are specific purpose computers, meaning that whatever be the application for which they have been designed, they can only do that. They cannot do anything else. So for example, the ones that have been designed for genetic studies, they can only and only do genetic studies, and they can't do anything else. So while designing, that's why just remember that supercomputers are specific or special purpose computers. All right. So that's why this becomes very crucial, that they can only do whatever they have been made to do. They can't be like normal general purpose computers, the ones that we are using. Now, coming to a very important topic, and in the context of the examination, I would say it's a very important topic, and this is about quantum technologies. Now, quantum technologies, let's try to first understand what do we mean by quantum technologies. What is quantum technology? Now, quantum basically is a word that we use to define packets of information or packets of data. Quantum, something that can be counted. Now, quantum technologies are related to the study of the subatomic particles. Subatomic particles. So, study of the subatomic particles, the science of subatomic particles is called as quantum science, you can say, or quantum technology. And that's it. That's where we have what we see is that the properties that we see at subatomic levels are very different from all these characteristics that we see at our level. With every kind of interaction, every kind of force that we see at our level, they're very different from the subatomic level. At the subatomic level, the things are very different, and also very weird for us. And that is what this actually represents. The first time you read about quantum mechanics versus the thousandth time you read about quantum mechanics, the expressions, as you can see, they do not change, because the theories, the concepts, they are very weird to comprehend. It's unimaginable from where we stand, with what we see around us. So that's why uh, there was a very famous quote by a scientist that uh, if you if you feel you know quantum mechanics, then you don't know quantum mechanics. Anybody who says that they know quantum mechanics, they are lying. So that's why it becomes the concepts become very weird. No, and also very complex. So obviously we can't go into that complexity, but there are some basics of quantum technologies that we should know. Some of the basic principles, because these basic principles very often are also in the news. So that's why you should know that, okay, these are some of the basics related to quantum technologies. Now, what are these basics? There are few basic principles. So let's try to understand all these basic concepts in a very oversimplified manner, all right? In a very oversimplified manner. So first, for example, quantum technologies, we are talking about the subatomic particles. What subatomic particles? Electrons, protons, neutrons, and all the other particles that are there inside an atom. So their properties is what we are discussing here. Their properties are very different from the properties that we see at our level. For example, gravitation does not work at that level. Many of the interactions of electricity and magnetism, they work very differently at that level. So that's why that level is very different, and it has its own set of laws and rules and its own set of physics. And that's why that physics is very different from the physics at our level, the bigger level. Now, first concept that works at that level is wave particle duality. Now, what do we mean by wave particle duality? Wave particle duality is that any subatomic particle can actually exist as particle, as well as it can exist as a wave. It can exist as both wave and particle, and depending on the situation, we see that it all changes. So for example, I don't know how many of you know about this reference, or if you know what this film is or where it has been taken from. Any idea, anyone? Where have I taken it from? Nagin, correct. So what happened in Nagin is that Sri Devi would have a human form and a snake form, correct? So, so she, in a manner, represented wave particle duality, where the human form can be said to be a particle and the snake form can be said to be a wave. So just like subatomic particles, she also had two different forms. So that's why in quantum mechanics, particles such as electrons and protons exhibit properties of both waves and particles. This means that they can behave like waves and particle depending on how they are observed. And we see that in various different ways we can see their properties. So for example, let's say in general we count the number. We say that, okay, oxygen has 8 electrons and 8 protons and 8 neutrons. So we are counting that number there, correct? So then in that case we are looking at the particle behavior, right? This is basically nothing but the particle behavior of oxygen or the subatomic particles inside oxygen. Similarly, we discussed something about tunneling where wave like property of electrons were discussed. So that's why electrons, protons, etc., they can exist both as wave or as particles. This is the first principle. The second principle is the principle of superposition. Now, in superposition principle, what we are saying is that particles can exist in multiple states at the same time. Multiple states at the same time. Now, I don't know whether you have seen this film. This film also won the Oscar for Best Film 2022. Everything, Everywhere, All at Once. Now, in this film, actually, the film is actually based on the principles of quantum mechanics, especially two principles of superposition and entanglement. So, they actually have shown that principle in this film. So, what we are saying is that multiple states at the same time. Now, this is also very weird. It's like saying that I right now am existing in some studio somewhere, and but I am existing in 5 studios at the same time while giving this lecture. So, for example, let's say for you, maybe you do not know where I am, correct? You do not know where I am. So, for you, I am at multiple places. I basically am there on your screen. So, wherever you are, whether you are in Delhi, Mumbai, Kolkata, wherever you are. So, depending on wherever you are, I exist in that screen. So, I am existing in multiple states at the same time. Correct. So for you, I'm existing in multiple states at the same time. unless you know where am I taking this lecture from. So if you know that, then in that case it's fine, then you know. But otherwise, superposition principle says that in multiple states the same particle can exist. So I could be existing right now in multiple states depending on where you are taking the lecture from. So that's why electrons can exist in multiple energy states simultaneously. So which is very weird to even think of, that how is it possible that the same electron has 10 joules of energy, also the same electron has 20 joules of energy also. How is that possible, right? So that's why we say that this is something which becomes very weird from where we look at things. Then there is the uncertainty principle. Uncertainty principle says that it is impossible to simultaneously determine the exact position and momentum of a particle, or you can say position and speed of the particle. That you either know how fast this particle is, uh, uh, traveling, or you know where exactly is this particle located. So either you know the speed of the particle or you know the position of the particle. You can't know both at the same time. All right, you can't know both at the same time. So that is basically what we say about uncertainty principle. Now in uncertainty principle, there is a very famous example given about Schrodinger's cat. Schrodinger's cat, where we say that you can take, let's say, a cat in a box. All right. So let's say there is a cat in a box, and the box is closed. So you do not know where exactly is the cat in that box. And then let's say you try to kill the cat. All right. I don't support it, but I'm just giving an example. That suppose that you want to kill the cat. Now, if you want to kill the cat, what do? Maybe you take a knife and you stab through the box, and when you stab through the box you do not know whether it hit the cat or not. I would hope that it did not, but you do not know whether it hit the cat or not. So whether it hit the cat or not can only be known if you open the box and see for yourself. But until the time you've opened the box, for you the cat is both dead and alive, because you do not know what state it is. So that's why the cat is existing in both the states right now. It is dead and alive. But when you open it, then only you will know that, oh, it was alive. So that's why this basically is called as the uncertainty principle, that you can either know the position or the speed of the particle. You cannot know both at the same time. This is called as uncertainty principle. Then there is another very, very important concept of entanglement. Now, what happens in entanglement? So, in entanglement, we are saying that there are two particles that become correlated in such a way that state of one particle affects the state of the other particle even when they are separated by large distance. Now, this also is very, very weird that something like this can happen. First time this is something that was observed by again Albert Einstein back in 1915, 17, somewhere around that time. So he was the one who observed this kind of a behavior in subatomic particles, and he very famously called it as spooky action at distance. All right. He called it as spooky action at distance. This is something that was called by Albert Einstein. So he called it as spooky action at distance. So he was the one who first observed this, and he was very perplexed by what was happening, because he saw that okay, there were two particles which, although they were separated by large distance, but because their properties were connected, they actually were related to each other in some way. That if you do something to this particle, the same can be seen in that the other particle also. So if you have seen, I mean, I don't know whether you have seen this film or any of these kind of films where you have two brothers or two sisters who are twins. So two twins brothers or two twin sisters. So what they show in these kind of films is, for example, if you see this film, that if you slap one Salman Khan, the other Salman Khan also gets slapped. Although they are living in completely two different cities, but when you do something to one Salman Khan, the same thing happens to the other Salman Khan as well. This is nothing but entanglement. So that's why this principle of entanglement says this, that when you have two particles whose properties are connected, then even if they are separated by large distances, even then their properties will remain connected, and the state of one particle always will affect the state of another particle. So if something happens to this particle, the same will happen to this particle as well. So again, very weird to even think of, but entanglement is a concept which is observed in case of subatomic particles. And then there is something called as tunneling. Tunneling, something that we also discussed in nanotechnology when we discussed scanning tunneling microscope. So in this case, what we see is that this is where particles can pass through a potential barrier even if it does not have enough energy to overcome the barrier. What it means is, if you remember what we had discussed in scanning tunneling microscope, is that if you have, let's say, a material like this, then the electrons are able to enter inside this material. Correct? This is what we had discussed, that they can enter inside the material by actually breaking the energy barrier. So electrons here can break the energy barrier and they can enter inside the material. So something, if you have seen this film, Ant-Man. So in Ant-Man, they actually show this, that the main characters who we have in this film, they have developed a technology where they can shrink themselves to uh, such a small uh, such a small being that they can enter inside what they call as quantum realm in that film. There's no quantum realm in reality, but there is a quantum realm in this particular film. So what they represented there is, you can say, nothing but quantum tunneling. So that is what tunneling is, when the subatomic particles can actually pass through or enter a certain material by breaking that energy barrier, even though they do not have enough energy to break that barrier, yet they are able to do that. So that basically is called as quantum tunneling. All right, this is what we call as quantum tunneling. So that's why this basically, you can say, although it was, I mean, very incorrect description of what quantum tunneling could be, but just to give you a simple example, I have taken this. Otherwise, it's a complete fantasy science fiction film which has nothing to do with reality at all. It has as much to do with reality as a film like Judwa has to do with reality. So but yeah, but this is it, this is what they have shown. So all these properties of quantum technologies today, we see that the world has been trying to use, including India. In India also, we have been trying to understand many of these concepts and how these concepts can be applied somewhere or the other in one application area or the other. Now, one of the most important application areas where world is actively working right now is quantum computing. Now, in case of quantum computing, this is also basically a computing technology, but it's very different as compared to normal computers, even supercomputers, and they are way faster than any kind of computing technique that we have right now. Very fast as compared to any normal computer, even faster as compared to supercomputers. So we discussed that supercomputers right now are uh, computing at nearly fastest possible speeds, but quantum computers can compute even faster than supercomputers. They're going to be faster than supercomputers. Now, how exactly do they do that? There are basic principles again here which are involved. So these principles are superposition and entanglement. So there are these two concepts of quantum technologies that are being used in making a quantum computer, or making possible that a quantum computer even works. Now, the basic unit of memory in this case is called as qubit. Qubit basically stands for quantum bit. So this is called as quantum bit or qubit. Now, how is this qubit different from a normal bit? The normal computers, they use bits, correct? So how is it different from a bit? Let's try to understand that. Let me just give you a basic example of how exactly they are doing that. So on one hand, let's say we have a normal computer. the other hand, we have a quantum computer. All right. Now, so just understand that whatever I'm doing right now, it's a very oversimplified version of what happens actually. Because if I go on to the details of what really goes behind the scenes, uh, that's way beyond our expectations from the exam. So that's why I'm just oversimplifying everything. So normal computers, we know that they use bits, correct? What are bits? Bits are nothing but a set of zeros and ones. So same in this case, when it comes to quantum computers, they are using qubits, right? They are using qubits. So qubits also are actually bunch of zeros and ones only. So in this manner, just you can say that bits or qubits is the language that computer understands, right? It's the language that computer understands. So for example, let's say I speak a language that you don't understand, suppose. So then what do I do, or what would you do? You would have to translate it, correct? Otherwise, I am speaking a language that you don't know, you don't understand at all, and maybe you speak a language that I don't understand. So we need to translate into the languages that we know. So something similar happens here, that when you type any instruction in a computer, you perhaps do it in English or let's say any other language. That English first gets translated to a bunch of zeros and ones. All right, because computer can only understand 0 and 1, it does not understand English at all. So first we see that bits. Now what we see is that, let's say if we have a 3-bit system, suppose that we have a 3-bit system, so then 3-bit system would create 2 to the power of 3 states. 2 to the power of 3 states. I'll explain you what I mean here. So similarly, if I have a 3-qubit system, this also means that there are going to be 2 to the power of 3, that is 8 states. So if there were 4 bits, then there will be 2 to the power of 4, that is 16 bits. Now, what I mean by these states is that how combination of zeros and ones can be used when you have 3 of these to be used. So how can it happen? You have 000, 001, 010, 100, 101, 110, 011, and 111. Correct? So in this manner, these are the 8 states. As you can see, these are the 8 states, basically the combination of zeros and ones when you can use 3 at a time. Now, in this context, what happens is that when it comes to a normal, so similarly here also you can say that the same number of states will be produced. That you have 000, 001, 010, 100, 101, 110, 011, and 111. Correct? So here also you have the same 8 states. Now comes the difference. The difference is that in a normal computer, one state is computed at a time. So computer will move from one state to another state, then to another state, and so on. So now suppose that if one state takes 1 second each, all right, if one state takes 1 second each, then it means that it will take a total of 8 seconds for completing its computation. So in a manner, what we see here is that the computation happens sequentially. So there is a sequential computation. So that's basically what we mean by sequential computation, that one state at a time will be seen by this normal computer. This is how normal computers would work. Now, this is what changes in a quantum computer. In case of quantum computer, all these states will be computed at once. So what we would see rather is a parallel computation. Is a parallel computation, and that's why it entirely would take just 1 second. It would take just 1 second instead of 8 seconds. Now see this, that if you had 4-bit system, 16 states, this might have taken 16 seconds. quantum computer still takes 1 second. And this keeps on happening, that you keep on increasing the number of bits in a normal computer, the amount of time that it takes will keep on increasing. In quantum computer, nothing will increase. Why? Two principles of superposition. Because superposition means that all these particles can exist in multiple states at the same time. So that's why this, and because all their properties are also connected, that is entanglement. So these two principles ensure that this computation is way faster, right? This computation is way faster. So that is what we see in case of a quantum bit, that the computation that is done by quantum bit instead of a normal bit is way faster than whatever a normal computer can do. But these quantum bits are very, very sensitive, very sensitive. So anything, any external source, it could be just heat, electromagnetic field, collision with air molecules, all these things can make the qubit to lose its quantum properties. And this is called as quantum decoherence. So quantum decoherence is when the quantum bits would lose their properties. So if at all they lose their properties, this is called as quantum decoherence. And that is why, to prevent from quantum decoherence, what we do is that we use additional qubits. So if you need 5 qubits, we would use 7, because we know that these qubits are very highly sensitive. We keep them very isolated at very low temperature, almost you can say minus 270 degrees Celsius is the temperature at which we make the quantum computer work. So has to be isolated completely, no air molecules, no electromagnetic fields, no heat, nothing should come in the way, otherwise they would lose their properties. So that's why we use extra qubits also, so that it can correct for the errors that creep into the system. So that's why we see that these quantum computers, they can do the work way faster than any normal computer could ever imagine doing. And that's why when we look at the applications, again you can say applications are pretty similar as compared to what we discussed in terms of even your supercomputers. So same kind of applications. So cyber security, drug development, financial modeling, better batteries, traffic optimization, weather forecasting, artificial intelligence, everywhere we can make the use of quantum computers. So again, just that wherever we need very fast data processing, fast data processing, quantum computers can be utilized. Now, so in all these cases, plus I mean you can just combine all the applications that we discuss in supercomputers, all those applications also we can make the use of quantum computers. Similarly, everything that we see here in quantum computers, supercomputers also are trying to do all that with their capacity. So that's why we see that all these applications are applications which can also be merged together. That all supercomputer applications are also quantum computer applications, and all quantum computer applications are also supercomputer applications. Now, there is one more concept in terms of quantum computing, and this is the concept of quantum supremacy. Now, this is a very interesting concept where we see that most of the tech giants, most of the biggest of the technology companies, Google, IBM, Meta, all these companies, they have been trying to develop their quantum computers, and this is where there is, you can say, a kind of a race, that who gets there first. And quantum supremacy in this context is the concept that says that when quantum computers can do such a work within, let's say, seconds, that a normal computer could have taken its lifetime, that will be called as quantum supremacy. So quantum supremacy is when a quantum computer completes such a task within seconds that a normal computer couldn't have completed in its entire lifetime. Now, this is where we see that there are a lot of competition here. So, for example, a few years back, Google all of a sudden announced that now we have reached quantum supremacy, that we have now achieved quantum supremacy, that our quantum computer has been able to complete such a work within seconds that a normal computer could have taken more than 10,000 years to complete. So, something that a normal computer would have taken more than 10,000 years to complete, our quantum computer has been able to do that within seconds. Then IBM came forward. IBM said that, look, this is not quantum supremacy, because we have supercomputers that can do this work in a couple of minutes. Yes, not in seconds, but a couple of minutes. So please don't call it as quantum supremacy. Quantum supremacy will be when you go way beyond what a normal computer can compute, or whatever the speed a normal computer can achieve. So that's why we see that there are all these kind of things. Similarly, then IBM also came forward a couple of years later and said that now we are the ones who have achieved quantum supremacy. But then Google also found some mistake in that and said that no, this is not quantum supremacy yet. So that's why we see that there are all these competitions right now. There's another term that also is used many a times called as quantum advantage. Quantum advantage. So quantum advantage is also quantum supremacy, just that supremacy is a term which many a times is also seen in a negative connotation, like racial supremacy and all that, white supremacy and those kind of concepts. So that is where they do not really want to use the term supremacy, and that's where a new term also has been coined, that is quantum advantage. So quantum supremacy and quantum advantage, they basically mean the same thing. There's nothing different there. Now, coming to what we are doing in India with quantum technologies, or in general, we see that, for example, it started with Budget 2020, where it was announced that a total of 8,000 crore rupees will be invested by India in National Mission on Quantum Technology and its applications. So that's why there are various different aspects of it that was kept so that we can move forward with quantum technologies. And then there is this Quantum Frontier Mission. So Quantum Frontier Mission comes with an objective to build excellence in quantum frontier, to build excellence in quantum frontier. So that's why various different technologies, whether quantum computers, chemistry, communication, material, sensors, cryptography, everywhere. So wherever required, whatever we want, whatever we need, quantum frontier mission will work to achieve all this. And on inside it, we see that there is something called as quantum enabled science and technology, called as Quest. So Quest is something that has been initiated by the Department of Science and Technology, uh, which is a kind of research and development scheme as a part of its emphasis on quantum technologies. So that's why we see that various different aspects of quantum technologies, we want to develop them with the help of all these different initiatives and schemes. So that's why there are four major objectives of the Quest mission. You can just read it once. It's not very important, but I've just listed out that these are the things that they have listed as major objectives of this Quest mission. One very simple question that was asked. There is this just one question that has been asked from here. 2022 they had asked this question. It's a very 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 simple question. Let me see how many of you can actually get this correct. Please mark your answers. Wonderful. 85% of you have marked B. Rest 15% of you were sleeping during the class. Which of the following is the context in which term qubit is mentioned? What is qubit in this context? What is qubit? This stands for, which is you. So very, very simple question, right? So this was asked in your 2022 paper. Obviously, next time they ask a question will not be as easy as this one, but I still hope that they are easy enough for you to answer and they are asked from whatever we have discussed here itself. Right. So any question from what we discussed in quantum and supercomputers? Any question if you have? Class will be of 3. No, class will be short only. I'm not going to start the next chapter. So class is going to be short only. I mean, we are going to finish this chapter very soon. Quantum decoherence. Quantum decoherence basically is when the quantum bits or these qubits they lose their quantum properties if they interact with anything external. So, for example, if let's say there is heat in the system, they lose their properties. If they collide with air molecules, they lose their properties. So, we maintain vacuum in the quantum computing system. The temperature has to be extremely low. So you have to ensure that it is very isolated system, vacuumed system. All these things are ensured, and that is something that is maintained. Otherwise, these quantum bits can very easily lose their properties. Right? They are going to lose their properties, and that's why uh, that losing of the properties is called as quantum decoherence. Supercomputers are also placed in low temperatures. Yes, yes, they are. Explain again. Explain what again, please specify, please. Right now, is there any country that has quantum computing technology? Yes, US has it. Even China has it. So they have quantum computers, but they are experimental in nature. They are not really using it for something. It's experimental in nature right now. Quantum dots. See, quantum dots are different from your quantum dots we had discussed in nanotechnology, where we discussed that these are very tiny particles which are of the order of 1 nanometer, spherical in shape, and that's why they are like dots for us, and they have very good optical properties. Right? They have very good optical properties because of which they can uh, they can be used in photoelectric devices, or they can be used in optical medical devices and all these kind of cases. In ISRO, is there any supercomputer? Yes, ISRO has supercomputers, and there are supercomputers everywhere. Right from you start from the north to the south, everywhere there are supercomputers in all the important universities. For example, for agricultural applications, there is a supercomputer that has been placed in Punjab Agricultural University. Then for genetic studies, there is one which is placed in IASC Bengaluru. So everywhere you'll see that ISC Bengaluru especially has these supercomputers where a lot of experimentations happen. But apart from that, there are other supercomputers everywhere. Wherever we see necessary, there are supercomputers placed there. Will you finish intellectual property chapter today itself? No, I've kept it for the next class. It will be done on Saturday. Any other question? How many topics have we covered before supercomputer? Only one. We started with blockchain technologies. We discussed blockchain and then supercomputers and then quantum computers. Hmm. These matters are too complex. Yes, they are. Even for the people who are experts in this field, even for them, these things are very, very complex. So, it's I know it's not easy. It's not easy to understand these topics. I That's why I try to simplify it as much as possible. If there are issues or if you don't understand something, you're most welcome to ask them as much as you want. So if you have any questions, you can actually write to me at rashesh.kumar at byju's.com. So if you have any questions, there were a couple of answers also sent to me. The assignment that I had sent you, I saw that there were 7, 8 answers that I received. I expected a lot more, but I'm thankful that there are those 7, 8 answers that you sent. It's a request to everyone, and especially if you are preparing for next year or beyond that, start writing answers. And unfortunately, nobody does that. Most of you start writing answer only when it is already late or once you have failed. Don't make that, don't go to that scenario. Why do you want to fail first and then realize what was your mistake? Because people like us will keep telling you that this is something that needs to be done, and unfortunately, uh, it reaches only 10% of the years, and rest 90% will still be relaxed. That okay, fine, I've attended the class, I'm happy about it. Attending the class is just the first step, let me tell you this. Because until the time you are sitting in this classroom, every work that has been done by me. I have done the research, I have read the current affairs, I have made these PPTs. Everything that has been done until now is my effort. Your effort starts after this, when you start revising, when you start practicing, when you start writing answers. But unfortunately, I don't understand why it doesn't happen, but it doesn't happen. And every class this will only be the case, that 10% of you will actually write and submit. I don't know if you have submitted to Target IAS or IAS Live, then this lecture is not for you. But for all of you who did not bother to write anything, who didn't think that this was uh, something that you needed to do, and if you feel that it will automatically happen, that you will be automatically able to write an answer, go and try and see whether you are able to write a good answer or not in the very first answer that you write. So the very first answer that you write can't be your mains examination. Before that, you have to be very thorough. And you just go and, I mean, don't listen to me, ask anyone who has, you can say that okay, I have not cleared the examinations, who am I to tell you this? Just go and ask everybody who has cleared the examination, whether they practiced or not, whether they wrote answers or not, whether they got their feedbacks on every now and then or not. You have to do that. But when I get 5 answers, 7 answers, 9 answers in one class, it's very disheartening, to say the least. So please ensure that you make it a habit. Write, even if you're not submitting, it's fine, but write it at least. Try, start writing, start reading, start doing some work on your own also. It's very, very important for your examination. And you'll find, once you become self-dependent on this, the second part of your entire discussion, or rather entire preparation, has to be on you. It is on you. We can only help you with after this. I mean, what do I have to do after this? I'll only go and maybe help you whenever you have a doubt. You have a question, I can solve that question. But my role ends at just 50%, or probably not even 50% of your preparation. After that, once you revise, you practice, when you write answers, this is what the real preparation is. So please don't neglect that. Please don't be complacent with these kind of things, because they are the ones that make a difference in your preparation. So please do that. So when you write and submit the answer, the problem is for me. More the number of students who write the answer and submit, the bigger is the problem for me, because I'll have to go through each and every answer. So increase my problems. You are making my problems go away. You are making my life easier. Please don't do that. Intellectual property rights, I am not starting today. There is a problem because unfortunately I have a medical appointment, something that has been going for a while, and that's why I've not picked up that chapter. So we'll end our discussion here itself. I just wanted so that this chapter has been done properly, and we have completed this chapter, and this just one chapter that is left, which is almost a 2.5 2 hour long chapter, 1.5 to 2 hours long chapter, that is IPR. So that's the only thing that is left. Whenever I get time, whenever there is a gap in the schedule, I'll start that. The next two subjects, as some of you had asked me about the next two subjects. One, there are two subjects that we are starting with one by one. There will be essay for 3 4 classes, and then there will be environment and ecology that will start. So that's why there are all these things that basically all these are the classes which are aligned after my classes. Cloud services. So cloud service basically, uh, the term comes from cloud computing, and cloud computing means when everything is being stored online. That today, for example, you have Google Drive and OneDrive and all these kind of storages. So those online storages, they are called as cloud computing, and that is what we mean by cloud services. After ending your class, can I send answers and questions? Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, whenever you're writing, I mean, you're writing now, 1 month from now, 5 months from now, whenever you're writing a science-based answer, or even environment and ecology, if you're writing something you want to submit to me, you can always do that. Don't worry. Yes, I have received some answers. I've not gotten the time to correct them, but I'll do that over the next week. I'll do that. So class, as of today, the class is done. Thank you very much. I know that I've spoiled your Sunday, but anyway, you might be studying only. This is my hope that you're doing on a Sunday as well. So please go back, revise everything. This basically makes the base for you for everything that you have to learn over the next 1 year as well. And current affairs, as you go on, keep adding all the current affairs as well, and ensure that you are making holistic set of notes and every topic has been covered properly, that all the static areas plus every bit of dynamic topic that you will keep on adding, all that needs to be at one place. So please do that. All right, so this is it from my end. I hope that these classes helped you. If you have any feedback that you want to share with me, you're most welcome to do that. If you think that there is something that I can do to improve my classes further, I'm all ears for that. And this is my email ID, of course. You can tell me there also if you want. All right. So thank you very much. Good luck to all of you. Best of luck to all of you. Jai Hind. Goodbye.